You know, I can remember when the U.S. started its crusade against tax havens, supposedly to wipe out privacy, tax competition, money laundering, anti-terrorism financing, and all of this good stuff. But now looking back, you know, really kind of makes you wonder, was the U.S. trying to eradicate the tax havens because of these things, or was it trying to corner the tax haven market? It seems to me that the latter is more likely the case. I mean, the U.S. has turned itself into one of the few places in the world where you can actually still conduct business. First, the United States in the early 2000s started with the Know Your Customer, the client due diligence, the anti-money laundering. Then in 2010, it brought us FATCA, in which data only flows one way, and that is to America. Information doesn't leave America, so they don't honor their bilateral FATCA agreements. Also, the U.S. isn't a member of CRS, so accounts in the United States are not reported to other countries under CRS. There's no public beneficial owner registers. They don't have this DAX 6 initiative that the EU has, where essentially lawyers and tax advisors have to rat out their clients. And it's still relatively business friendly compared to the rest of the world, where compliance and due diligence has become so onerous that it's difficult to do business. And so basically what it seems like what the US did is they said, hey, listen, rest of the world, in order for us to stomp out money laundering and anti-terrorism and harmful tax competition and all this other stuff, you have to implement all these know your customer laws. You guys need all these beneficial owner registers, automatic data exchange, and all this stuff. Now listen, I'm all for wiping out tax evasion and money laundering and terrorist financing, but the side effect of that has been that it's become impossible to do business in Europe and in quite a few other places in the world. And the reason being is the due diligence and the compliance is just so crushing that businesses, unless you're a huge multinational company, you just can't operate anymore. I mean, because of the EU's fifth anti-money laundering directive, for example, it can sometimes take months to get onboarded with a lawyer or a tax advisor or an accountant to get through their due diligence requirements. And a bank account, forget about it. I mean, it's now the norm that it can take up to 6 months for a business to get a bank account. How are you supposed to conduct business in that type of environment? You just can't. It's not a business-friendly environment. Now, compare that to the United States, where you can hire a lawyer or an accountant in a matter of minutes. I mean, the due diligence generally consists of showing a driver's license or a passport, maybe a utility bill to prove residence, and that's about it. You can also form a company anonymously in an afternoon and get a bank account 15 minutes later. There's no public beneficial owner registers. There's no CRS. There's no BEPS initiative. And so the U.S. has really cornered the market. It's the only Western country that I know of where you can still conduct business freely and efficiently. And I think what's really been sort of the proof of that to me is for a long time in my career, up until a few years ago, it was usually American companies trying to get out of America so they could have these tax-deferred structures so that they wouldn't have to pay U.S. income tax until they repatriated the income. But now it's the other way around. Now I see more and more foreigners wanting to go do business in America. Now the question, the Americans are happy staying in America. They got a huge tax break. They now have a lower corporate tax rate, a participation exemption. Everybody seems to be pretty happy in America tax-wise, but the rest of the world is miserable. And now the rest of the world is like, how do we get into America? This is a great market, has great rule of law, it's relatively politically stable, the currency is strong right now, it has favorable tax rules, and it has a business environment where we can still actually do business. And so I think what the U.S. successfully did in its effort to sort of eradicate these things that we want to eradicate, like money laundering and anti-terrorism financing, what they did is they positioned themselves as a very attractive place to do business because of all these rules they pushed onto the rest of the world. Has made it so difficult to do business in most of the world. And so I think that the US is a really attractive jurisdiction now. I mean, there's a lot of tax advantages to it. They have a ton of double tax treaties. And like I said, it's easier to get competent lawyers and accountants. The due diligence requirements are fairly straightforward. And things can be done very, very rapidly. And so more and more, we've been helping people start their business in the US, move their businesses to the US, because it's a great place to do business. So anyway, something to think about if you're setting up a business or looking to relocate your business. The US might be a good option for you. At Esquire Group can certainly help you with tax advisory, corporate formations, anything like that. We'll see you on a future video. Peace.